Hi, I'm Gary and welcome to Jargon Free Help. So this week just wanted to talk to you about two things, Twitter and backing up on iCloud. Lots of you have been asking me about both of these and I just thought I'd quickly go into them now. With regards to Twitter, I do actually have a tutorial on how to use it a little bit more, and that will be going online very soon. And that's using it on your computer. There is also one using it on an iPhone. It's used mainly on a lot of devices today. So why use Twitter? Well, I use it to actually remind people of things, such as when there's updates, when there's a new podcast, and also just give people IT tips and tricks. Also to try and engage a little bit of conversation on there. A lot of people are doing that. A lot of businesses use it to get business, remind people, and also people who are trying to promote their careers as well. If you are trying to promote your career or business, you should have a website that points people to it. And in your profile, make sure you've got your website there so that people can actually find you. Now, when you're using Twitter, you may have seen it or heard of it or thought, well, I don't really have time for it. Basically, people have short messages, 140 characters to put on there, and they can have links as well. An important thing to consider about Twitter, I've done a bit of research on this, there are 1.6 billion searches on Twitter, so you don't even need to sign up to it and actually engage people. You can just simply search on there. And Twitter, you can actually do that search by going to search.twitter.com. If you want to actually sign up, that's twitter.com, and you can also do the searches there as well, and you can do the searches on your mobile devices too. So why search on Twitter and not on Google? Well, let's say you were going on holiday and you're going off to Australia, perhaps Sydney, and you wanted to look up a little bit of what to do there. If you search on Google, you're basically going to get people who are doing promotions, and they actually work it so that they can be at the top of that list. You may have heard of search engine optimization, SEO, to get you to the top of that list. Whereas if you're using Twitter, it's actually more of a live feed of real people and what they think. So if you were to search for Sydney, you might find people saying, I had a great time there, you've got to check this out, got to do this, here's a great restaurant, and you might actually search for Sydney restaurants. However, you've guessed it, if you're using that on Google, then what's actually happening is you're getting the restaurants actually promoting themselves on there. So one is a bit more of a feed from real people. And with those searches, I said 1.6 billion searches per day. That's a lot of searches. It's probably changing as I tell you this right now. But Google, just to give you a comparison, is 3 billion. So a little less than, a little more than half the amount of searches, but actually a lot more than Yahoo and Bing. So it's significant. So if you just want to go there and search for something, that's great. If you want to interact, then sign up and you can tell your stories, share things. Like recently I mentioned that Tesco's were doing a £50 iTunes voucher, gift card, for £40. Great deal. Mind you, by the time I'd got there, they'd all gone. Don't know if that was my fault or not, but anyway, I doubt it very much. Then I found out by mentioning it, someone told me that there was a deal going on at Asda, 2 UK supermarkets. But as you can see, it's useful. So the other thing I use it for as well is I follow people, and you can search for people or businesses and follow them. So I follow the BBC News, so I get breaking news. I see it on my iPhone. That's the one I use the most for Twitter. I also use it for things like finding out what's new on the App Store. The App Store has a Twitter feed as well. And there are many others, people sharing things about what's going on in the Mac world, iPhone world, Windows world, and I use that to keep up to date. And if I'm using it on a mobile device, it's quick, simple, and I can pick that up anywhere. So that's really handy. If I do see something I like, you can favorite it. So you get a listing and you can actually just tap on favorite and come back and read it later. You'll see there are links on there. Most of them are shortened links because you've only got 140 characters. So people use special things which are URL shortening services, and they give it a short link and it follows you to that link, which might be more useful. So that's the sort of thing I might do. I might put on there about this podcast, a link to it. You just tap on it, it takes you straight to it. So that's really handy. A lot of people say they don't have time for Twitter. They think that it's all about people telling them what they're eating and things like that. But if you look around and you're following people of interest, you might actually find things that are really useful. But just think of it, it could keep your friends, your clients, students up to date. So that's Twitter. Really useful. If you go back and look through my podcast, you'll see that I've got more things about Twitter and how to engage people more with that. But don't ignore it. Give it a bit of a go. If you are following people that are doing, I'm having a beef sandwich right now, and you're not interested in that, then go and find people that are, but that does put people off. So don't do it yourself. Good to give a little bit about yourself, but also give them useful information too. So that's all about Twitter. Now the other thing I've been asked a lot about recently is iCloud backing up their iPhones, iPads and iPod Touches. And you can actually back up still connecting to your computer, not a bad idea, it's faster. You can do that by connecting with a cable, which takes you to iTunes both on Windows and Mac. You can also do it wirelessly now, so if you're on a network, you can actually back up using that wireless network to the computer rather than plugging a cable in. It's a little bit slower than plugging in with a cable, so if you've got a lot of data, then you might want to consider the cable option. However, we all get a bit lazy and we don't back up as quickly as we should. However, I've been using the iCloud backup, and admittedly, I had to pay a little bit extra than the 5 gigabytes that they give for free. 5 gigabytes, that's quite a lot, but I'm a heavy user, lots of photographs, video that I do on my phone. And I use it so that iCloud is not just for backing up my contacts, calendars, reminders, notes, so all sorts of appointments and things like that, and also data and documents, but it also backs up all my settings, my phone, and all of that kind of stuff as well, as if I'd connected to the computer. You still need to connect to the computer if you've got videos and photographs on there and you need to manage that, so syncing them. But that's all right, it's not doing the backup, it's just syncing content. So the backing up is great. I use the iCloud backup. So all you've got to do is go into settings, go into iCloud and choose the option to back up using iCloud. And I have to tell you, I've been using this. I paid a little extra because, as I said, I've got a lot of data on there. But at the end of the day, I would go to charge my phone, which I have to do at the end of every day anyway, sometimes a bit sooner. And what I do is when it goes to the lock screen, a certain amount of time later, it backs up automatically every single day. It does it once a day, plenty, and it backs it up. Don't forget the photo stream, when you take a photograph and it gets backed up to the internet. That happens whenever you've got a connection, so that's independent of that. So this is on top of all that backing up. And I can assure you that the backing up works. I actually wiped all the data from my phone and restored it from the iCloud backup. I can't tell you just how simple it is. As long as you remember your username, which is just an email address, and your password, which you could always retrieve, you simply put in those details and it just automatically loads everything. Admittedly, it can take time depending on how much you've got on there, but bearing in mind I have a lot of data, it wasn't too bad. And it remembered everything, all the apps, all of the settings. It's just absolutely fantastic. So I highly recommend you get the iCloud as your backup. Okay, if you're going to pay a lot more, I think I paid about £20 for an extra, or was it £25 for an extra 20 gigabytes. Very, very handy. The other thing I did mention about my phone and not always getting through the day with the battery, one of the things about the iPhone is that people use them a lot more. They're more than just a phone, so the battery life is a little bit short sometimes. However, you can get devices which are USB little chargers that you can plug in to give yourself a boost, and I do that. Sometimes I have to do that once a week, or if I'm at a computer I just simply give it a very quick charge and it sees me through the day. And admittedly, like many of you, I'm a heavy user. Anyway, I hope all that advice on Twitter, iCloud, and also being able to give your iPhone or whatever other device you've got a bit of a boost. Hope that's all helped. Don't forget, jargon-free help is more than just technology, and I shall see you next week.